Alrighty, so in this portion of the presentation, I will be talking about the Montreal metro system. So how did this all begin? Well, the first signs of the Montreal metro system being built was in 1910 by three different companies: Montreal Street Railway Company, the Montreal Central Terminal Company, and the Montreal Underground Elevated Railway Company. The reasons why they proposed this idea was because the city of Montreal at the time was getting very crowded with traffic. There was a lot of cars and automobiles that were kind of blocking the way for people. So they proposed this idea to build an underground metro system to have more simplified access to transportation. So the plans for this subway remained in newspapers, but due to the First World War and the Great Depression, the plan of constructing it never happened. Since they spent a lot of money on the war effort and since people were losing their jobs during the Great Depression, they felt that constructing this metro system was going to be very difficult since they were in a lot of debt at the time. So in 1939, there was a mayor named Camille Hood who proposed the metro system to provide jobs for the jobless. This was an idea to promote after the Great Depression that people should be going back to work, and in order to compensate for all the losses of people who lost their jobs, he proposed this idea to get people to try and construct the metro system to earn some form of recompensation. When 1944 came along, World War II and the war effort, it actually resurrected the plan instead of completely removing it, because during the time, they decided to build two underground, well, not build, but plan two underground networks. One of the lines would run down St. Catherine Street, and the other line would run under Saint Denis, Notre Dame, and Saint Jacques, which this would be kind of similar to the orange and green lines, respectively. So basically, by 1953, the city decided to remove the streetcars and they replaced them with buses and a subway line that would open in 1966. So what happened here was that before this all happened, Jean Drapeau was actually against the idea of building the metro system because it would just cost too much money and probably a lot of time would be consumed. But then his ideas changed. It kind of sparked from another metro system, the one in Toronto, that it was moving a little quicker than he had expected, and he kind of got jealous and he felt inspired by it. So they decided to change it around. By 1961, he decided to plan to construct the first Montreal metro system. By 1966, the green and orange lines were full operation. The green line would run from Atwater all the way to Frontenac in the first one, and on the orange line it would be Bonaventure to basically Henry Bourassa. There was another line that was proposed called Line 3. It was supposed to be built during this plan, but it ended up being cancelled because of a famous event that was going to occur a year later. Expo 67. So how did Montreal's metro system impact on Expo 67? Well, so in 1962, Montreal is chosen to host the 1967 Universal Exposition, also known as Expo 67, after the withdrawal of the Soviet Union. So the city was left with a decision, and what they decided to do was, instead of constructing Line 3, they decided to construct Line 4, which was the yellow line. This one would connect Berry de Montargis, which is Berry-UQAM today, to Longueuil, which is on the South Shore. Then a stop was added between the two stations. This was the stop known as Ile Sainte-Helene, which is where the Expo 67 event would take place. It was then changed to Jean Drapeau in 2000 to honor him for all of the actions he put into building this metro system, basically. And I would like to refer this to a Mission Impossible documentary because one thing for sure about this documentary was that they predicted that they were not going to finish this whole project by the time Expo 67 came along. And it's quite shocking because at the same time, while they were building Expo 67, they also were constructing the metro system during those years. And in total, that was about 20,000 workers. And 20,000 workers is a lot. It's a lot of people. So this is why everything went so fast. And they called it impossible because they believed they weren't going to get it done on time. But luckily they did, and the event actually went well. Now I'm going to talk about the last thing, which is the architectural designs and public art in the metro. So if you've been to the metro, you've seen different kinds of designs at each station. Well, this was actually an idea by Jean Drapeau himself. After the construction of all the metro stations, basically in 1966, he decided to propose a competition or organize one. So what he said was that many Canadian architects, they basically had the decision of how they wanted to design the metro stations. They could have been creative with all the art, they could have done anything. Some of the special works they've produced in the metro are sculptures, stained glass, and murals. Now, the murals was an interesting case because the murals were actually done by a form of a type of artists known as les automatistes, which were basically Montreal artists that were descendants in 1940 during the Second World War. Most of them did these beautiful murals, like this one at Place des Arts. It's really nice. A lot of the design is really nice here. We also have two other kinds of designs. This one's at Square Victoria OSCE, where we have the France-looking style of an entrance. This was actually inspired because Jean Drapeau actually went to Paris and witnessed the metro himself. So he decided to take this broad inspiration and put it into one of the stations in downtown. And then at Namur, we have glorious chandelier, cubic chandeliers, which is out of this world. And that's it.